So thanks everybody for joining. This call is different. Now, some of you have been in our past 8 community calls, and shout out to the OGs that have been here early on. This call is different because we've actually grown the community quite a lot. So our Twitter profile grew with 70,000 new followers recently. Discord grew with 60,000 people. And we actually have a lot of regional communities that are active and not only going through quests, but also creating content and participating. And so the purpose of this call and bringing the founders as well as our head of product here is to bring people up to speed if you've been following us so far, but also to introduce ourselves, introduce the team, and introduce where we're at to all of the new followers. So what we'll do is we'll take some time for an introduction. Then you hear directly from the founders that create a bit of structure to talk about what is Blocksense, what makes us unique. And then the spicy bit is actually going down through partnerships. We'll have our head of product specifically touch on some new opportunities that we're making a difference, not just as an Oracle, but we're making a difference in the space and in what's happening with stables as well. So we'll share some details about this. Now, what we'll touch on also is what's next for Blocksense, but then we'll open up Q&A. So with this in mind, what I want to kick us off with is just introductions. And so Zahari, the abbreviation of your name is also an abbreviation for ZK, which is hilarious because we are building a ZK rollup. You are a co-founder, but also the originator of the Blocksense idea. Tell me more about yourself and give an introduction to all of these new members that have joined us that don't know Zahari's story and what brought him here.
All right, my career in blockchain, and I started in a bit unusual way. I was working on a programming language, and the first major kind of project in this programming language, which is called NIM, was actually an Ethereum client. Some of you may have heard about the Nimbus Ethereum client. I basically was the first team member of the Nimbus project. I helped recruit some of the most prominent developers in the NIM community, and we were able to be one of the the most efficient and energy efficient Ethereum client even today.
And Zahari, it was through your work there that you also got pretty close to the Ethereum Foundation, right?
That's right. With my connections with the Ethereum Foundation, and led me to the creation of a much larger team, which originally worked on various projects developed with grants from the Ethereum Foundation and other prominent blockchain institutions such as Gnosis, Lido, Rocketpool. We developed the first zero-knowledge client for Ethereum, which is able to sync the network by downloading the head block of the network by downloading a single zero-knowledge proof. And also, this is a very useful technology for the construction of bridges between blockchains. Most bridges nowadays rely on trusted third parties, but with having a ZK client, you can eliminate any trust and have a client that actually verifies that all the information from the target blockchain is authentic. And we build a lot of experience with developing zero-knowledge technologies during this period. And this was the foundation of the Blocksense team today.
Thanks so much, ZK. So, guys, when I met Zahari, for me, this is one of the men with the cleanest and clearest ways of thinking I've ever met. And so the Blocksense team has gained notoriety, not just back home in Eastern Europe, but this is a very rare team because you have 3 Ethereum Foundation researchers investing and backing up the team from the get-go. And so Zahari has been a core part of enabling this. Georgi, just based on the layout on my end here, yours is the next photo. Tell us what's the Georgi story. Give us an intro.
Yeah, of course. So I'm not sure I've really gone into it before, but in school I did a lot of math, and out of school I actually did first job was sales, and like we're selling like different data centers, and like mainly like reselling Microsoft Azure, like competing against AWS. That's kind of like 10 years ago maybe. And after that, I became a programmer. I did some engineering for like 5-6 years, and I got into blockchain with the Manta project, Manta network. We had this kind of privacy preserving products. So for me, it was very. I was just trying to make like private digital cash, and we had that product. We did that product, but no one used it, which was kind of sad. So we did other stuff. But yeah, and then I met the guys towards my end with Manta, and we've been building for like a year and a half since then. So that's kind of very brief about me. Yeah.
Thanks, Georgi. Now, Georgi is very humble. Since I came in the team, he has been a massive support, lifting. He pulls in the right people in, and then he lifts them and puts them front and center. Some of you guys may have just seen posts from me on Twitter. I actually wasn't tweeting a year ago. It was all Georgi. So he encouraged me, he showed me, and he kind of pushed and guided me for this. And super humble guy, but also a math prodigy that made stuff happen at Manta from the very beginning. Petar, you're next on my list here. Give us the Petar story. I know when we do the community calls, you're often busy getting stuff done, and I don't rope you in as often here, but I'm super happy to have you. Tell people more about the origin story.
Thanks, Martin, and thanks everyone for having me here. So similar to Zahar, actually, my background is in systems programming, and for a long time I was a contributor to the deprogramming language. So we share a common passion with him. During working on systems programming, for example, I worked at VMware, where we implement some of our core API for platform abstraction. I found the Ethereum project, and that got me quite interested. I joined a team called Jarvis, where we built initially a forex trading application, where the idea was to reimagine forex trading, as the name as it may sound. It was a cool experience, and just during this time, Ethereum and DeFi was starting to have a huge effect on many of the projects around us. This was somewhere around 2017, 2018, and as other teams, we pivoted to DeFi, which was a great decision. So at Jarvis, we built a smart contract platform which allowed issuing stable coins backed by issuing synthetic stable coins backed by other stable coins such as USDC, and a platform that allows like borrowing and lending. And this was a relatively hard but quite deep introduction into the world of building smart contracts. And I met Zachary at the conference. Usually I meet a lot of cool people at conferences, so it was a very good occasion where it was a conference about the NIM programming language, and since then we exchanged various ideas, and at the end he was able to convince me to join forces with him. With him, I worked at a team which implemented the staking as a service API for one of the largest node operators, where we implemented staking for Ethereum, later on for other blockchains such as Solana, Cardano, Polkadot, and Polygon. I also worked with a team which which was Dendrit, which is zero knowledge based. There's a few things: a zero knowledge based Litecoin, and also a service that allows verifying the liquid staking protocols operation. So after this, we started working on Blocksense, and the rest of is history.
Thanks a lot for that overview, Peter. I was just saying this in the Discord chat. CTO who has been doing DeFi since 2017. That's the. It's hard not to be bullish on a team like that. Magnus, our head of product, the floor is yours.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so these three co-founders are clearly very technical brains. I come at things from a different angle. I spent 4 years studying people, studying humans at Oxford. I'm an anthropologist by training. And somehow that sort of led me down the product route in tech. And that's kind of like where I come at product problems from, very kind of human oriented design. Before kind of getting into crypto professionally, I worked on making AI algorithms at Amazon talk to each other better so that products get delivered faster. But I've always had a personal interest in privacy and privacy tech. Got into Bitcoin pretty early. Bought my first Bitcoin through the UK mail. Posted an envelope in 2011 and ended up waiting a week to finally get the funds in my wallet. Anyone who follows me on Twitter, that's where the no escrow account handle comes from. Wasn't really escrow back then for crypto buying or on ramps. But yeah, I wish I was as good at holding and storing it as I was at buying it. Maybe I'd be retired by now. But have kind of had a long interest in crypto, and through my work previous to this, I was doing special projects at a Temasek incubated startup that focused on privacy tech, and over there we were using ZK to do stuff like privacy preserving KYC. So being able to authenticate and KYC users without leaking their personal information, something that's very relevant if you've been following the Coinbase case from a couple of weeks back, where they leaked a whole bunch of their customers' details through KYC. But yeah, so kind of familiar with the ZK space, and friends with George from way back in school, and got the chance to take a new challenge with Blocksense, and that was last year summer, and haven't looked back since.
Thanks, Magnus. So, an anthropologist that studied anthropology at Oxford and bought Bitcoin in 2011, a math prodigy, a CTO who did DeFi since 2017, and a co-creator of a programming language that has a passion for compiler engineering. That's I messaged this in Discord. I'm like, that's literally lore building in action. So thank you guys for taking a minute to introduce yourselves, especially to the newcomers to the Blocksense community. This is a very special team, and I'm super grateful to be a part of it. Very brief overview on my end. I've been building technology companies for 15 years now. I've been part of 2 exits. One of them was in the machine learning and AI space. So we built this company up 2015 to 2021. I had always looked at the space from a distance. Part of what kept me away was not knowing what is legit and what's not. And I think you see this even today. You would see these hype projects, and then you would realize how people are dumping on or extracting from retail. And what really inspired me was meeting the Blocksense team. So my first conversation was with Zahari and Georgi. And so I already advised and support companies backed by tier 1 investors. So I helped a friend get into Y Combinator and build out a fintech. I was helping the former CFO of Docker build his new company as well. But when I met Zahari and Georgi, I decided to drop everything else and jump into the space. And it's been the hardest I've worked in my life, and it's been the most rewarding journey at the same time. So there's been a lot of building, but I'm really excited about this point that we're at right now, because you're going to see a lot of things are in motion. So now that we have the overview from the founders, especially for these newcomers here, I want to talk a bit about what is Blocksense. And Zahari, you're the best person for me to ask this question to here. Why was Blocksense created?
I guess the reason I was initially interested in Blocksense was because I have this kind of inner drive for achieving efficiency. And efficiency, I think we're addressing in three ways. First of all, we make kind of increase significantly the bandwidth of how the blockchains can consume data from the real world. With our technology, you could upload a lot more information on chain and build kind of arbitrary information that will allow new use cases to be addressed, and that the blockchain developers can now innovate by introducing new information to the chain. But the another source of inefficiency is how the kind of business is organized right now. Basically, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to create a new sort of DApp that you have some idea how to leverage information from the real world, your only option today is to practically beg some large blockchain institution to lay you a hand and publish the data that you need for you. And we think this is kind of wrong. It creates an imbalance of power that leads to high cost, slow execution of new projects. And ultimately, many entrepreneurs kind of just give up on their ideas. So what we do instead is that we introduce an SDK that allows anybody to essentially program how the data should reach the chain. And with the SDK, they can permissionlessly register their program, which is very much like a smart contract. So they register it in the Blocksense network, and the data they need starts flowing on the very next day. And the Blocksense network really is designed to operate as the most efficient marketplace possible that meets the consumers of the data on one side with the reporters of the data on the other. And this network is designed in such a way that there's a lot of competition between the reporters. So this guarantees that consumers are never overpaying for the data they need. They're always getting the best possible price just because of the market dynamics that we are creating. And again, this is a source of efficiency. So I guess that's, you could argue, but okay, there's also another way to answer what Blocksense is. And this is a technical answer, which is that we are introducing a new decentralized consensus protocol that for the first time makes it possible for validators in distributed blockchain networks to agree on what is called intersubjective truths. An intersubjective truth is something that almost everybody in the world would agree upon. For example, who is the current president of the United States, or what's the current temperature in New York. So these are facts, but these facts cannot be computed. The blockchain networks today, they reach consensus only on objectively computable facts, such as what is the result of executing a particular set of computer instructions in a particular virtual machine. And this is the reason why the current blockchains, they are the subject of computation is limited to the only information that is already in the blockchain. We think that the use case of blockchain would be very limited, very uninteresting if this was the case. So with Blocksense, the subject of smart contracts can now expand to anything in the world, as long as it is a truthful fact. So oracles are clearly the first goal use case and our go-to-market strategy, but the potential of Blocksense goes much further. We'll be disrupting a lot of existing data middleware solutions, such as indexers, bridges, basically anything that needs to work with large-scale data in an efficient way.
Thank you, Zahari. So I know this in and of itself requires a whole community call, and maybe we even do something a bit more private there. People that want to learn and that have also been in the community for a while, because I do know this gets technical. But the biggest takeaway for you guys that it took me a while to realize is Blocksense is something so much bigger than oracles. And even within the context of oracles, we're going to bring tremendous efficiency. So, Georgi, Zahari gave us this overview of what is why Blocksense is created, specifically talking about inefficiencies at scale and his drive to make things better. How would you summarize the mission of Blocksense, especially from where we're sitting today?
Right. Well, I'll just reiterate, or maybe rephrase kind of what Zachary said. And in one sentence, I'll say we're really trying to kind of make oracles and middleware more generally sexy again. And I don't know if again, but kind of interesting. Because people just, when you say oracle, people think directly, or price list changing. It's kind of there, but it's boring. But I feel we can really mix that up, and or at least try it. And then also the other thing is to make them to make these things that are created with our network we actually decentralize. A lot of the oracles, a lot of the middlewares, kind of multi-sig or usually just like a multi-sig. So we can make a real progress on that side as well, and kind of have a fully decentralized permissionless system where people can be like validators, can deploy services, run them, and like do all these things for their smart contracts. So that's it. Kind of make oracles and middleware interesting and decentralized, and obviously to make a sustainable business out of it that we can share with the community over the long term. That's because obviously decentralization also means decentralization is on many layers, but one of them is kind of the ownership of this of this network and of the business. So that's how I would summarize. And personally, I really like the competitiveness of this market, of the Oracle market especially. It just shows that it's important. Even though it's boring now, I mean, it's there for a reason. It powers all of DeFi at the very least. But we're looking for kind of also new gems for like different use cases. But just for DeFi itself, it's super important, obviously, and who controls it also is a very important role in like all of crypto. So that's kind of the mission.
That's a great point, Gogo. And you're leading into the next question that I wanted to direct to Peter. So, Peter, you've been leading this function as a CTO. You've been a CTO for years now and working in DeFi as a technical lead since 2017. So, this problem that we're talking about, why is it so important to solve? Why is there so many companies in the space looking at addressing this problem? Gogo said himself, this is big and important, and he did touch on DeFi. But how would you answer this specific question?
Right. So I'll just put some, I think, major projects that happened in the, let's say, 10, 15 years that for me are the highlights which brought us to this point. So, of course, to reiterate for the millionth time, we had Bitcoin, which was the first attempts to bring an actual alternative to the traditional finance system. And shortly after, there was a small explosion of many blockchains that did certain things incrementally better than Bitcoin. But at least my impression, which may not be 100% historically accurate, is only once there was a project like Ethereum, which had strived to have Turing complete programming environment, basically allowing anyone in the whole world to write new programs, to develop new use cases. Is only when the blockchain industry started to grow and to reach many new frontiers. There was a lot of incremental progress before that, but only when programmability was added is that the whole ecosystem started to touch new places that no one imagined that something like Bitcoin can touch before. Of course, like a programming platform, there's many programming platforms. Like we all know that, like in the past, mainframes, data centers, cloud providers, and so on. So, in one way, you could think that compute is readily available. But I think one of the things that is like truly missing is verifiable compute, being able to trust the data. And in this age where AI it's entering so many spheres of our life. And like misinformation and so on, being able to trust the data, I think is very important. And still, like even like 10 years ago, Ethereum did a like huge step function in that regard by like having a place, a system of computers, like a worldwide computer, where like these like thousands and hundreds of thousands of like entities can reach consensus on various programming facts. But I think this is like was very limited. Like to be deterministic and to have this very high level of guarantees, this requires severely limiting the use case, the what is possible from a programming language like Solidity. And I think this was very necessary at the time because you have to focus on one thing and do it well. But I think 10 years later, we can see that a lot of the companies that are adopting blockchain, they still have this like mix of Web 2 and Web 3. So the Web 3 stuff, they're like they're trustworthy, but still there's a large portions that are still Web 2, which just means trust me, bro. Like we're doing this, but we can't trust it. And so basically, Blocksense mission is about extending what Ethereum offers as programmability and the verifiability of data to a much wider spectrum of use cases. And oracles for us are one of the core things that we want to address. There's many existing players in the space, but we think we can do a better job.
Beautiful, Peter. Thanks so much. That's exactly why I wanted to direct this question to you, because I love the perspective and the experience you have and how you framed it in terms of, let's not just talk about something shiny in the moment, but let's understand the bigger context and the perspective of why all of us are here on stage and why everybody else is in the community listening live right now. Magnus, we spoke about why Blocksense was created, the mission, and then why this problem is important. But you've been front and center in the space, working with protocols of all kinds, working with chains. How does Blocksense compare to what's out there in the market? And how would you summarize this for people who haven't been in the 450 group chats that you and I are in the past 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, that's a great question, Martin. I think it's funny you mentioned these several hundred group chats that we're in, because how Blocksense is different has also evolved over the past year, right? We've been figuring that out and finding where the best fit with the market is. And we started to find really strong partners and niche, like fits with the niche parts of the market, which I'll go into in a second. I think like on a very broad scale, I don't want to repeat what the others said before me, but there's no other provider today of data middleware who can answer the following three questions reliably. Like, who's the president of the US right now? What's the price of Bitcoin a second ago in dollars? And what is the output of my prompt from this specific LLM, say Llama 13B or GPT-04 or whatever? There's no one that does all three of those things seamlessly. And there are providers that are specialized in each one and have, different trust assumptions, usually quite high trust assumptions. And I think what's really compelling about the vision and the future of Blocksense is the ability through the ZK Shell Coin consensus to handle all of these different use cases, all these different verticals, from oracles to bridging to verifiable inference to intent solving, without having to rely on the honesty of operators of the network, because the consensus solves for the incentives game theoretically. So I think that's kind of a killer differentiator in the long run. In terms of how we are differentiating ourselves today, obviously our GTM is primarily focused in the Oracle space, although we're making forays into these other verticals that I just mentioned. We're finding kind of initial fit with oracles, and if you look at how oracles historically, like legacy oracles, have worked, they're essentially, you can think of as dumb, quote unquote, price givers, right? So they give the price of an asset, and it's up to the protocols who consume that price to decide how to handle it. But what we find is that not all assets are created equal in crypto, and not all pricing should be done with the same methodology, right? And this is where the programmability of the Blocksense interface comes into play. So we are able to essentially execute arbitrary logic and arbitrary scripts behind the scenes with those data feeds that we provide to protocols, such that they're, for example, able to act and behave differently depending on market conditions. And so if you look at, so what I'm kind of hinting at here is this new emerging field of risk-aware DeFi oracles. So certain DeFi assets, or certain crypto assets that are used in DeFi money markets, like yield-bearing stable coins and other yield tokens, because of their dynamics, because they're heavily staked, like a large percentage of the circulating supply tends to be staked, which means that the actual liquidity depth in trading venues is very low. Those assets tend to be prone to manipulation, like price manipulation. And if you just give them kind of market price of a DEX TWAP, you may end up actually giving a very manipulated price back. And this is where we've been doing some R&D in peg-aware oracles. So for a stablecoin asset, for example, there's a big difference to a money market when a stablecoin depegs because there's a structural defect. Let's say the reserves have been drained, and that stablecoin is actually debased. It's not worth what the market thinks it's worth, and then the price goes down. You really want to be able to reflect that in the money market to protect lenders from accruing bad debt. But then there are these minor fluctuations that can be caused by malicious actors manipulating the price, or purely just the trading, the arbitrage trading activities that cause stablecoins to jitter around that $1 mark or whatever asset they're pegged to. And these cause things like unwanted liquidations in money markets and changes in interest rates for borrowers that are actually undesirable for all players in those money markets, but they just kind of a feature of going with a dumb price feed. And I call it dumb just because it's, it's one dimensional, right? It always returns the same logic. And so that's really what we're trying to double down on with our risk-aware feeds, is being able to, in that case of the stable coins, being able to just default to a 1.0, even if the price, like the market price of the asset is, let's say 1.001 or 0.998, because that's more efficient for the money market. But then when an actual depeg event happens, we flip, and the script, the Oracle feed starts reporting on the market price to protect lenders from accruing bad debt. So kind of went into a lot of detail on that example. Hope it's not, we haven't lost everyone with the technical aspects, but just to say, like, we're going very, very broad as a middleware platform, servicing many different kind of verticals. Oracles are sort of our GTM and where we're initially finding the fit with the market. And one of the areas that I'm most excited about for us in the coming weeks and months with the partners that we have lined up is modernizing the way that money markets, DeFi money markets, use price and the kind of price feeds that get fed into these money markets, which ultimately will lead to like higher LTV ratios and just more efficient money markets in DeFi.
Thanks a lot, Magnus. You did talk a bit about partnership. We're actually going to pick this up in a bit again. So thank you for hinting this. I mentioned this in the Discord, by the way. If you have any questions, drop the questions in the Discord chat. People are going to help us out collect all of these, and we can use them for the Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat so we can collect them. Now, what we did is we gave an introduction and overview of the team, specifically for the new people that have joined us, but also giving a bit more of the lore and the story to existing community members. Then we spoke about what is Blocksense. Now, you guys are a very diverse bunch, and I love how we all complement each other here. And what I want to ask you is, what makes Blocksense unique? What makes the team unique? And I imagine I'll get very different answers from all of you, but especially from where you're sitting, what do you think sets the team apart, or you see it as an outlier of sorts, an outlier characteristic? And Zahari, I'll start with you.
All right. I mean, there is one obvious question answer that we are one of the first properly decentralized oracles. We already covered that. There is also another more unusual answer, which is that our team has this unique DNA where myself, Peter, and other team members, we have been involved in the creation of programming languages, developer communities, ecosystems, very advanced tools for developers. For example, we recently published a time traveling debugger for Noir, which on the very first day of its publication gained nearly 1,000 stars on GitHub. And this DNA of the company is something that would help us, I think, over time build an edge over the competitors. Because if you think about it, we are introducing this programmable platform. So the developers that are going to build applications on top of our platform is what would set us apart. And our unique DNA will help us make this platform as developer friendly as possible. I think our understanding of developer tooling, how to design libraries and programming languages is something that I haven't seen in any of our competitors.
Thanks a lot, Zahari. That was a great answer. Georgi, what do you think makes us unique? And the rule here is no one can repeat something that anybody else said. If this was a primary unique feature for you, you can select a secondary or a tertiary to share.
Right. I mean, for me, it's always more about the people. So, I mean, we're 30 people now, 20 engineers, and we scaled up 10-man like operations and the BD marketing team. And we have access to already we have amazing people, amazing talent. And then we have access to a lot more. And we can scale up. And like, in order to meet like all these challenges and all these new product lines that we're seeing and all these opportunities. And all these people kind of so out of all these people, but it distills down to, I think, to a couple of things. Kind of, we have this big brain line, and also we have this kind of degen hustle line. And I mean, these two these two parallel characteristics, I suppose, of the team. And I think most successful teams have had this, so you need to have this. So I think that's kind of what gets me most. I think it's like very, very unique, especially for for our stage. Like, so yeah, I'm kind of unique, maybe.
Thanks, Georgi. That's a great answer. And one of the big factors for me was how goated the founding team, the core team is. There's a reason why A16Z, Crypto, CSX, once they found out about Blocksense, they actually wanted to lead this, right, and support the team. And to this day, I would love someone to correct me, but I haven't heard of a team in A16Z CSX that had 3 Ethereum Foundation researchers, not just as advisors, but as investors, and as involved as they are with our team. So the team, it's not just the core team that is coded, but also everybody else that's backing up the project. And I want to give a special shout out to Rahil. Rahil never sleeps. Everybody knows this. He's a superstar. What Rahil does on the community side, I actually haven't seen anybody else do in other communities. So shout out to not just the core team and the founders and the rest of the project of Blocksense, but also you guys in the community and the people making stuff happen in the community to get us to where we're at today. We're going to go so much higher from here. Petar, what makes us unique in your experience?
So Gary talked about the people. Zachary talked about the vision. I would say I would like to talk about the roadmap. I think we're kind of a unique project because we have these very high ambitious goals of building a general system that can serve many use cases and to be truly decentralized, open, and allow for great innovation. But at the same time, we're like super focused on a very aggressive go-to-market one, and specifically, I think what maybe sets up apart from some of the other players that are more, how to say, compute focused, perhaps, is that we really very early on started working on partnerships with teams. And I think for me, this is very important because we it's best to understand to have empathy for the people you're serving, not just build this pipe dream, but to serve actual people and to serve real use cases. So for me, this I would say what makes us unique is this combination of like having very high goals of building something that is very robust with our sharing consensus, but also just being very aggressive at serving partners very early on.
Thanks a lot, Petar. This is kind of it's a bit of a twist because you said the roadmap, but then we're having the CTO talk about the aggressive expansion approach that we have. So I love that you're the one that actually brings up this point. Magnus, what makes the Blocksense team unique? I want to hear this anthropologist 2011 Bitcoin buying converted to a blockchain product lead perspective.
I'll try and weave in some anthro. I think one of the great strengths is that we're pirates, right? There's this other crypto project that has Marines, and we chose pirates quite deliberately because we see ourselves as the smaller player that's maybe the underdog for now, but that is willing to do what it takes to get on top. And big, great things can come from pirates. Actually, people usually think of pirates as thieves, but well, I don't want to draw too much of a comparison with the British Empire because that's fraught. But the British Empire was started by pirates. The Buccaneers were individual pirates who found new lands, they explored, and they went out and they created enterprises that ended up being like nations that were part of the empire that became this big hegemon. And I think I'd rather be a pirate than a marine. So I'm going to go with that.
I love this answer. So there's a great point. I actually had no idea about this origin of the British Empire. See, it does pay off to have an Oxford-educated anthropologist amongst us.
Anytime.
So I wasn't actually going to direct this question to myself as well, and I haven't thought of an answer in advance. But I just based on what I heard from you guys, I feel like just taking it off the cuff here. I met the founder of a chain that has raised hundreds of millions, and 100+ million. And I met him at a cigar launch at a side event in Denver, and he was talking to some big shot liquidity providers. And when I met the guy, he was like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm with Blocksense." And what does Blocksense do? And I'm like, "Well, Blocksense looks like an Oracle, but it's actually the distributed compute network in disguise." And A16Z backed us up. We raised 4 million pre-seed in September last year. And he said, "Why the hell would A16Z put that much money in an Oracle in 2024? And I'm like, "Great question." By the time we ended our meeting, he was the one asking me to scan his Telegram for us to connect. So the vision here is massive. And like Magnus said, we are adapting, the business is adapting, and it's like a living organism. But the thing is, you have some really big brains behind this, figuring it out. And it even took me, I would say, probably half a year to fully understand the scale of what we're doing. And that's what we're also trying to convey in this community call here. Just give you a glimpse of the way bigger vision. Blocksense isn't just an Oracle. Blocksense has the architecture and the capabilities to build technology that essentially addresses multiple industries and segments. And over time, I would love to get as many of you to understand this, because regardless of how involved you would be with Blocksense, if you are able to understand what's being built here and its potential, you will have a much deeper understanding of the whole blockchain space. So I'm just getting goosebumps just talking about it. But when I say what makes Blocksense unique, there is a vision here, a vision with scale. And I've been building technology companies for 15 years. I've always been pursuing big thinkers and big builders. So what makes it unique is this big vision that's real. It's not a PowerPoint deck or like unknown founders on a landing page convincing you to like put money in to buy a token for them to dump on a pump fund a week later. Okay, so we gave the introduction. We spoke about what is Blocksense and then what makes us unique. And now I want to talk about partnerships. Now, there's a limit to what we can share publicly or what we'd like to share publicly right now. But I will give you guys some tidbits. So we spoke with a very promising, probably the most promising RWA project that's involved with the AG layer. We're very close to the founders now. And the literal quote I have from them for you is, "Oh, I'm so excited to not pay millions for this number of price feeds." So this project is building really exciting protocols. So it's a chain, but it's supporting really exciting protocols in the RWA space. And they're actually an advocate for us. They've raised a substantial amount of money. They're already a part of a very vibrant ecosystem. But we have them as an ally, and we have them as someone who's referring business to us. A second example is a project on Arbitrum. And this protocol, even though it's been approached by some of the dominant oracles and some challenger oracles as well, it's a no-brainer for them to work with us. So this protocol will be launching a stable coin, and they're actually, even though others are chasing them as an oracle and people didn't know the Blocksense name a year and a half ago, they have already committed to working with us. A third example is we are pretty close to people at Optimism. Some of us have personal connections there, but literally from someone at Optimism that is in a position for partnerships, we heard this. Your thesis makes so much sense. We hear it time and time again, what a challenge oracles are for chains. And so it's taking time to meet the right people, build the connections, build the technology, and start delivering results. And once you deliver value, you grow within an ecosystem. But you're seeing both from new promising projects with serious funding, leading chain ecosystems and stacks, as well as protocols that have been around for a while. You're hearing this and you're seeing this. I don't know what to call it exactly. They are becoming allies, and they're spreading the word for us as we're building things up. So I think this is very exciting, and I'm very bullish on it, because if you look at the Oracle space generally, it's very competitive. But having this support from chains, stacks, and protocols, where we are today, I'm incredibly optimistic about what can be done. Magnus, you did touch on stables a little bit, and you did talk about risk-aware oracles. But can you highlight some of these examples and maybe highlight them in a more succinct way, especially because I see more people joined. We're almost 5 times more than when we kicked off the call 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got partnerships with stablecoin issuers and or money markets across some of the new chains, some of the new very hyped chains that are launching soon, such as Monad, Citrea, TAC, which has got its mainnet coming very soon, imminently, in fact, working with a couple of yield protocols there. Very bullish on TAC. Base, people already saw our announcement with Euler, who recently passed $1 billion in TVL, amazing redemption arc from the hack a few years back. They're very, very, very much on the cutting edge of risk aware and risk optimized money markets. And I think we've got some pretty big announcements coming up soon. We've been sitting on a few that are oven ready and about to be sent out. I don't want to take too much time to go into all the details, but hopefully that gives a flavor. Essentially, we're working with some of the top new chains where there's kind of greenfield opportunities, and it's not yet outcompeted, and getting in very early and giving our proposition, and I think it's selling very well. And then on some more established chains, getting embedded with risk curators and money markets there, which you've seen in the announcements already. So yeah, I'll probably leave it at that and pass it back to you, Martin.
Thanks, Magnus. So we spoke about protocols, we spoke about quotes from some chains. This is where I'd love to actually address better. So we're also working really hard to integrate a number of chains. Would you like to say a bit more about this better?
Sure. So Magnus already mentioned some of the chains, but I would say that especially on the EVM side, our architecture allows us to very rapidly just serve new chains. Our consensus and our batching mechanism allows us to like almost instantly just go to new markets, and we've been seeing very rapid growth, especially with many partners on their testnets and some of their mainnets. I think it's also very exciting, some of the non-EVM chains. So, for example, we've been partnering with Tatstack. For me, they're a pretty cool project because they have a very very deep R&D focus on leveraging ZK, not just for scalability but also for privacy. So it is one of the projects that we're partnering on different levels, and I'm very excited of where our mutual partnership can go.
Thanks for that overview, Peter. So I noted down this quote for you. Our architecture allows us to serve new chains very rapidly. Guys, I wish there was a way to survey you. If you talk to anyone building a chain and you ask them about oracles, some companies take months, some can take up to half a year, a lot, charge you hundreds of thousands to even integrate. So the velocity that's enabled here through our architecture is something else. And this is what kind of leads me to generalize about what's next. So in terms of upcoming partnerships and ecosystem plays, you will be pleasantly surprised to see a lot more activity and announcements over the coming months. Again, I wish I could share some of the names now, but keep an eye. You will see announcements publicly. You see announcements on Twitter as well as in Discord. Now, our primary focus right now, well, my primary focus as someone who's supporting the ecosystem is connecting with layer ones, layer twos, layer threes, anyone that would need an oracle. And the secondary thing is, the second but not secondary, is connecting with lenders, LSTs, LRTs, stablecoin issuers. If you are involved with or support any such projects, so you know the team, you're doing some work there already, please drop us a response in the early adopters form. So you can find this at the bottom of the Blocksense network website. And so if you guys share a project there, we'll review these, we'll match them against who we're talking to, share context on what your involvement with the project is. If we're not already connected with them and you report someone, we meet with them, I'm personally going to print you one of these shirts. This, by the way, is one of the highest quality shirts you could wear. I love it. Blocksense paid for it, so I wasn't cheap on making sure I get us a good shirt. So I will personally print the shirt and I will mail it to you myself. So again, if you're connected with and deeply working with L1s, L2s, L3s, lenders, LSTs, LRTs, or stables, fill in the early adopters form, and I'll be working with the team to go through these and get back to you. Talking about what's next. So we recently had our NFT campaign, and Georgi, I would like to bring you up on stage. By the way, how many people do we have here? Hey guys, so it's Georgi's birthday today. Can we get a happy birthday in the chat? Because I wish I could bring you all on stage, but this is going to be incredibly chaotic. Happy birthday, Georgi. I hope you better be logged in Discord to actually see the messages now. I can do this, but let's see if it's going to work. Okay, you're getting some confetti. Happy birthday, Georgi. Oh, there you go. We got balloons.
Birthday, George.
So happy birthday. And I also want to bring you on stage. Tell us a bit more about what's next now that we had this NFT campaign.
Right. I mean, in terms of the NFT campaign, it was what we're planning on next is the second kind of experience, let's call it that way, where we'll really we'll really get to see what everyone in the community is kind of made out of and what their strengths are. Whether you guys are like on-chain degens, NFT degens, like art people, like and all the developers and all the yappers on Twitter and so forth. So the goal of this experience will be to really see kind of everyone's metal and the collection. I mean, we will do some kind of collection that will reflect what you guys are made of. Yeah, and we're at the beginning stages of kind of planning it out and setting up all the what exactly this experience is going to be. So I don't want to spoil it, but basically we're getting the best out of all the top like S-tier collections that we've seen in the past few years. We've like taken the time to really study them and make something and take something from each of them and make something of our own. So yeah, that should give us like a few months and we'll roll it out. But I'm very excited about it. And yeah, that's that's on the NFT side, I would say.
Mm-hmm. That's great, Georgi. Actually,
Sorry, we did already. Like, if you guys are curious about the artist, we have a really cool artist who's working with us. He's kind of a real world artist, actually, like a pop artist. Has a very interesting style, which mixes kind of 90s Disney like themes with yeah, with some other stuff. But yeah, we recently posted about him, so we can check out his work to kind of get the vibe of what we're thinking about in terms of the art.
Thanks, Gogo. So we did start the meeting a bit later, and I know we have a lot of people in the chat. So we're going to extend this call to address community questions. And the first questions I'll start with, we had a lot of questions about the NFT actually. So the first question, Gogo, is directed to you. Will there be a second NFT drop? And is there still a chance for those who missed out on the pirate NFT?
Yeah, I mean, right. Like I mentioned, we'll do a second like NFT drop / mint kind of experience. So there will be that, and the way we're thinking about it is there will be other ways that people will be able to participate in that. Not just so one way would be you would get a chance to participate for sure if you manage to mint the first one and like do it the proper way by like following the instructions. So that's one. But like I mentioned, we want to see the different characteristics of the community. Like we want to see the people who are really active on socials. We want to see the people who are really active on GitHub, or we want to see the people who are really active on chain and different protocols and different partner protocols. So there will be other ways to get in to participate into them. So
and what about those who missed out on the pirate NFT? Is there still a chance?
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
There'll be other ways.
Okay. And how did the idea for the NFT drop come to the team? There were a couple of questions about this.
I mean, we like we've been in the space for a while. We've seen different stuff, and we have kind of the different pieces that are needed are in place. Especially we have an artist, like a real world artist who is actually doing exhibitions in like New York and Paris and like Asia and different cities. It's like kind of getting, maybe one day he'll be like super famous, but right now he's like a little bit famous, and he's a friend of the project. So there so just like all the pieces are there, then there's an opportunity. Like we're fans of doing stuff like this, and he wants to bring over his band over to on chain as well. So, and actually, tangential. I mean, he's also connected to some other kind of S tier collections like Azuki and the Pudgy Penguins. So we'll be we have everything there, and we're fans, so why not do it? And obviously, I think that's going to be a very cool experience for the community. So yeah, that's part of it as well.
Yeah. Now, sorry, just give me a second. I'm just looking at the questions. So I'll take this verbatim, and you can address the part of it that's more relevant now based on what you added. NFTs were minted before, and now there's going to be another mint. Is it true that only those who minted before can mint again? How is the NFT valued in the project's ecosystem?
I mean, I think I already said about
That's
this.
why I'm like, I'm just reading it as is for context. Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe to reiterate, we'll figure out maybe like different criteria for participating in the second experience. And yeah, it won't be just if you did the first one, but if you did the first one, that's definitely gonna help.
Gotcha, Gary. Okay, now we're changing up the questions a little bit. We'll step away from the NFTs. This is a good one. Do we have or are we planning to integrate programmable oracles? I love that this is framed as we. This is the way you gotta think. Because, so I'll just do a side note here. A lot of oracles have community and they have missions and they have activities. But how many of these oracles, if you're a builder, you can build oracles on? How many of these companies you can run a node for or actually benefit from being an operator? You can't. So Blocksense is very uniquely positioned to be a decentralized solution starting with oracles. And this means that that's why it makes a lot of sense to build this community. That's why it makes sense to do this from the get-go. It's not a marketing tool to pump numbers. If we're going to build the most decentralized oracle out there, and eventually it's going to be a no-brainer for every chain that has DeFi or needs an oracle to run Blocksense, it also makes sense that we build it together. One of the simplest points about this is anyone would be able to run a node and both secure these networks and benefit from it. So with this being said, do we have or are we planning to integrate programmable oracles with ZK Snarks and TEs? And what do you think about that? Now, between Zahari and Petar, I see Zahari, you already came off mute, so this is yours.
Definitely. Like ZK's zero knowledge proofs are a core component of our architecture. They are what guarantees that the information produced by the ZK sharing coding consensus is authentic. And what we have this unique property that we'll soon write about a bit more, that the crypto-economic security of the Blocksense network arguably extends to all the liquid capital in the world. Basically, there are mechanisms in the protocol where that allows any attack to be addressed by kind of even players outside of the protocol who step in to kind of stomp the attack in its tracks. TEs, they have their certain role. There are use cases where the TE is potentially the only reasonable solution. Most of these use cases are about, for example, real-world asset protocol proving something about their reserves. This is highly sensitive information. It may require credentials, but then the information has to be delivered in a trustworthy way that kind of prevents any possible manipulation on the part of the kind of real-world assets, the owners of the protocol. So one reasonable and secure way to do it is to have a published source code which defines how the information will be obtained. Run this program in a trusted execution environment, which guarantees that it cannot be tampered, the program cannot be tampered with. But this trusted execution environment will store the necessary credentials that has to be kept to the sensitive information. So use cases like this would be possible within the Blocksense network. And the way it would work is that the ZK circuits, they would verify the so-called remote attestations, which are produced by the trusted execution hardware. So transitively, once the information reaches the target blockchain, it is verified with the zero knowledge proofs, which kind of recursively have proven that the origin, the true source of the data is the trust execution environment running a particular and audited source code, which kind of obtains the data from the real world.
Thanks, Jari. And great question, by the way. I love that we have people in the audience that are digging into this. Next thing, what is the most unique thing you want to achieve with Blocksense that other oracles haven't done yet? So between Magnus and Petar, whoever unmutes first gets this. Oh, don't be so. Both of you are such gentlemen. Like, someone has to do it. Okay, no. There you go.
I'll give it a try. Although it's a difficult question, so I'll give my best. What is the most unique thing that we want to achieve, right? As an oracle, I would say just breaking the barriers of what it means to be an oracle.
Fuck yeah, this is actually a really good answer. So guys, we had this thing. Okay, since I met the team, they had already secured a fundraising. And when you pitch the long-term vision, investors get excited. But if you only look at Blocksense just as an oracle, it limits things so much. Like, we can do so much more, right? And so it's a problem when we tell, what is Blocksense? And I'm like, it's an oracle. And then people think, price feeds, right? There's a lot of oracles out there that raise a lot of money and they're integrated in like 5 chains, or their token FDV is less than the money they raised. And I'm like, I don't want to be grouped with these people. Like, that's not what we're building. So a part of our challenge, and I'm saying it's all of us here. It's you guys in the community. It's the pirates. It's the founding team. It's everybody working in the Blocksense team. We want to redefine what an oracle means because it can be so much more. So that's why we're saying, well, this has a bigger vision and we'll start with oracles. But if we're successful at what we do, we will redefine what that term means. So Petar, that was a banger answer. Thank you. Magnus, you're going to get the next one now. Will oracles...
Are you picking on me now?
No. We got to be it's an egalitarian group here. Will oracles become the default layer in every L2, L3 in the future?
Will oracles become the default layers?
In air quotes, yes. In the, well, not air quotes in the air quotes sense use of the word air quotes. But yeah, will oracles become a default layer in L2s, L3s in the future?
I think oracles are a default layer of the infrastructure stack that most chains will strive to fill. Whether every L2 and L3 needs an oracle, if they're successful, probably they do. If you're a gaming focused rollup, then you're going to need RNG at some point. If you're a DeFi focused one, it speaks for itself. AI focused, similarly, everything that's getting data from the outside world and bringing it on chain is an oracle at the end of the day. And most chains, if they're going to be useful, need to interact with outside world information. Do I think every L2 and L3 will get there? No, like there's so many that are being launched, and a lot of these are very cheap experiments that some of which will not work out, and so naturally they don't get to the stage where they actually require an oracle, and that's totally fine. They shouldn't focus on that if they're not there. But I think beyond a certain level of success, then pretty much every chain will need oracles as infrastructure.
Thanks, Mag. Let me see. How does staking tokens to provide data help the network? That's a great question. What happens if someone lies or messes up? Do they lose their tokens?
Yes, definitely. Like, that's the intention of the protocol. And I can explain how it works very briefly. It works a little bit like a game. Imagine a game with, say, 10,000 participants. And you ask this participant an arbitrary question. I already used this example. What's the current temperature in New York? And the rules of the game are such that if you provide an answer that the majority of other answers that agrees with the majority of other answers, you get the profit, you get a reward. But if your answer disagrees with the majority, you get a penalty. But the trick here is that you don't get to see the other answers. Only they're revealed kind of after everybody has submitted their answer. So in this game, you don't have information how others would vote. And it's not obvious, but the winning strategy in a game like this is actually to tell the truth. Because if everybody tells the truth, everybody is going to win. And if you try to lie, because there's so many possible ways of lying, it's very unlikely that you end up in a majority. So basically, the rules of the game incentivize the reporting of truthful data. And this sounds very easy, right? Like, why haven't anybody done it already? Actually, Vitalik introduced this idea many years ago. There are issues around potential collusion between the participants or potential bribery attacks. And here's where kind of the Blocksense protocol comes in. We use the power of ZK proofs to make this voting secret and to actually make the participants in each vote also a secret. So basically, if you want to collude with somebody or if you want to bribe somebody, the first problem is you don't know who to target. Basically, you have to address the whole network, which may be consisting of many, many, many participants. And the second problem is we make it very difficult for anybody to prove how they vote. But if you think about it, if nobody can prove to you how they vote, it becomes very irrational to try to bribe anybody because whoever you're trying to bribe can take your money, they can vote whatever way they want, and you will have no way to verify whether they followed your orders or not. So basically, this vote secrecy and kind of secret voting committees, we really make this simple kind of voting protocol truly secure for the first time.
Thanks a lot for addressing this question, Zahari. What are scalability trade-offs of using a rollup model for data feeds? And how does Blocksense optimize data availability and latency? That's a good question. Let's see. I'll look for, because I've been directing questions. Zahari took the last one. Does anybody want to lead this one? So let me repeat. What are scalability trade-offs of using a rollup model for data feeds? And how do we optimize for data availability and latency? Maybe it makes sense to talk about like what we're doing short-term in terms of go-to-market. What are we doing short-term to take product to market faster versus the longer-term vision here? But yeah, I feel that someone more technical should grab this one. Zahari? Okay.
Again, okay. So the major difference between Blocksense and the other Oracle providers is that traditionally, when Oracle's providers publish data, they publish every data point as a standalone transaction. So this means that to upload a very minuscule amount of information, such as the price of something, you usually have to put on the blockchain a whole bunch of signatures from the kind of providers of this information. Usually in most Oracle networks, there is kind of multiple institutions which are signing each update. So the signatures of these institutions end up on chain. And every single data point has many, many different signatures have to be verified, which increases significantly the gas cost of putting data on chain. Well, we are not a rollup in the traditional sense, like standard kind of EVM-based rollup where you have smart contract execution and transactions between the kind of different account holders. Rather, we are rollup in the sense that when we publish data, we use a single zero-knowledge proof to verify thousands of different updates. So the blocks that the Blocksense network is producing, they are very tightly packed packets of information containing thousands of updates over different data feeds. And this is where our scalability comes from. If you compare the kind of gas cost of getting a single data point in the Blocksense network compared to a traditional Oracle provider, the advantage could be 30 to 50 times reduced gas cost. Now, when it comes to data availability, we will support a very wide range of guarantees regarding data availability. Some of the data ends up on chain directly, so there's no need for a data availability layer. Other data can exist only in the Blocksense network and can be verified on chain with mechanisms such as Merkle proofs or KZG proofs. And certain data in the Blocksense network, which is used for temporary scratch pad for the programs that operate within the Blocksense network, these data can exist in various data availability third-party networks. So basically, our SDK allows for pluggable. It's modular in the sense that any data availability network can be plugged as an API in our SDK. And basically, the developers of the Blocksense data services or Oracle scripts, as we call them sometimes, they can decide what kind of data persistence they need.
Thank you, Zahari. I'll take one last question here. I think this is a good question. Going to give you guys some more meat. Someone said, could you kindly provide an overview of the Blocksense roadmap and any notable milestones ahead? Magnus, our head of product, give me an answer to this one.
Yeah, sure. So I think you can bucket the roadmap into three main parts. Distribution, so expanding Blocksense's distribution to all chains. Feature completeness, so that we're competitive with competitors across a wider range of verticals and enter into new verticals. And then progressive decentralization. I put a fourth one of just reliability and stability, which is a forever thing that every team always has to work on. And it's one where we're putting a lot of emphasis now, as we've just done a big upgrade of the network, making sure that all of our T's are crossed and I's are dotted, so to speak, and ensuring buttressing the reliability and stability of the system. Just to go one level deeper into each of those other points that I mentioned. Across chains, currently we're on 30 to 40 EVMs. There are more EVMs to launch on for sure, but there are also alt VMs. And so we'll be expanding to SVMs, SVM and MoveVM in due course later this year. Feature completeness, when I talk about feature completeness, I'm talking about, in the Oracle space specifically, we're currently primarily a push-based Oracle. We'll be adding the compatibility with pull oracles, random number generation.
I lost Magnus's audio. Can you guys still hear him?
I think we've all lost him.
Okay. I'm just messaging. What a cliffhanger. So
just the most interesting.
let's see. I
could speak a bit add a bit more core about the roadmap, but I really want to hear Magnus's.
Yeah, because I know we're 30 minutes over, so I'm not sure I think his computer might have died or his device might have died. Oh, Magnus, welcome back. I was just saying it was quite a cliffhanger that you left us on. You were like, as well as RNG, and then you just disappeared.
Sorry about that.
So you have 1 minute to finish what you were going to say.
All right. Yeah, RNG, sports betting, prediction market settlement, low latency oracles, AI inference. These are all what I call feature completeness for us to be able to attack every vertical. And then finally, progressive decentralization. So bringing in the VK machinery expanding out the node operator set to permissionless node operation, and becoming an AVS through restaking partnerships. These all come under the bucket of progressive decentralization of the network as we protocolize. So yeah, hopefully that gives an overview, and I hope that you could actually hear what I just said, and I'm not disconnected again because my screen has gone dark. So
okay, yeah, we can hear you.
You
good.
Can hear me? Good.
You're good. But
I was talking to the void there.
You're good. We got you. So I know we went over by almost half an hour, but we still have about 200 people in the Discord. So thank you everybody for sticking around. If you missed the beginning, there's going to be a recording made available. So I want to thank you, everyone, for joining. So very deliberately, even though Blocksense can be seen initially as an infrastructure product, we've been building community. And the reason for this is there's so much to optimize in this space, and Blocksense is a platform that will be able to address this multitude of use cases. There will be whole verticals that we're essentially rolling into the technology that we're bringing to market. And so community is important to spread the word. Community is important for us to educate, because if you guys get it, on the one hand, you walk away with a far deeper understanding of the space. On the other hand, you can be an ambassador and an advocate. But also community is essential because we want to finally democratize oracles here. So anyone should be able to build scripts and run Oracle scripts. Anyone should be able to be an operator and run a node. And everyone should be able to benefit from this as well. So thank you everybody for joining. And I want to give a special shout out to people that are making stuff happen in the community. Specifically, a shout out for Rahel again. So there are a bunch of people supporting this whole project. And so there is a Laoshi role that you can get for the most active member of the month. And I want to congratulate Stanley Wu on this. And we also welcome 8 new pirates for completing successfully 6 weeks of tasks. So that's Asen, I hope I don't butcher it, Keo Art, Kiter, UTA, Penny X, Cat Loose, Chun Mei, and Luat Crypto as well. So I know people have a different level of engagement. Some of you have been around for a while and you've been sticking with this throughout. Respect. Some of you are new. I will give you a bunch of different ways that you can engage and stay active. So one, we have ongoing quests at the moment on Interact, and members can earn XP for participating. We also have an invite ladder that is ongoing. So if you invite 100 people, plus you get the Laoshi role that I mentioned, shout out to Stanley Wu. But 500 plus people will get a pirate role. So these roles are really important because you can game joining a Discord server, you can game following an account on Twitter, but sticking around, being curious, contributing. This is also a filter, a qualifier, because I would love to also spend more time. We've been talking about this with Christo. I can see us organizing some smaller private groups with people that have been committed, engaging, and supporting for longer, because we can do some training. Or this example that Zahari gave, you can spend some time to actually break things down deeper, almost do a class on Blocksense, because we will need these allies to spread the word of what we're doing as we scale things up. So there's the Interact quests, there's the invite ladder, and the Laoshi role associated with that, the pirate role. In addition, you can invite people to create content. You can create content to promote the project. And we have a community content guide. So if this is your thing, make sure you check out the community content guide. And last but not least, there's actually a lot of activities going on. So you can check the server activities. Join us for poker nights, for example. So we have poker night with Gabe and Pragmatic as well. Final reminder here: if you are deeply involved with an L1, L2, lender, LST, LRT, or stable, fill out the early adopters form at the bottom of our main page, and we'll check if we're already working with them or talking to them. And if we're not, we'll let you know. And I'll get you one of these sweeties myself. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. And thanks, guys, for making a time to connect with the community. I appreciate you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone, for joining the call.
Take care.